Happy morning dear students. Welcome to English online class. In today's class we are going to learn lesson 3, The Ant and Amabel. This lesson is taken from a book called as Magic World written by Edith Nesbit. First let's see about the author of this story. Edith Nesbit was an English author and a poet, and she has published many books, novels and poetry for children as well as for adult, and some of her famous works were on magic and fantasy, and many authors were inspired by her writing, and one among them was C.S. Lewis. So once after being influenced by the writings of Edith Nesbit, he wrote his first novel which became a great hit, the Narnia novel, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. And this book, Magic World, it is a collection of 12 stories and it was published in the year 1912. And one of the story is the lesson which is given for you, The Ant and Amabel. So let's see what happens in this story. Amabel is a little girl who is visiting her aunt's house. To make her aunt happy, she plucks some flour from the greenhouse and she sticks it into the ground in front of her aunt's window. But when her aunt sees the flowers, she gets upset because Amabel did not get permission before plucking the flowers. So the aunt is not talking to Amabel. In this extract, Amabel is alone in her aunt's bedroom and she is looking around in search of something to read, and she finds a large book on a dressing table. And the book was very large and it was covered with red velvet, and the letters A, B, C was written in yellow embroidery on it. So children, let's read the lesson to find out what happened to Amabel when she read the magical book. So you can turn your books to page number 23 and read along with me.
Students, have you turned your books to page number 24? Yes, I am reading to you the first paragraph. Amabel looked round the room for something to read. There was nothing. Only on the large dressing table was a book covered in red velvet, and on it, embroidered in yellow silk, were the letters A, B, C. Perhaps it's a picture alphabet, said Amabel. She was too old for the alphabet, but she opened the book. So in the first paragraph, we could see that Amabel looked round the room. She was searching for something to read, but there was nothing. But on the dressing table, there was a book which was covered in red velvet, and the letters ABC was embroidered in it. And she thought it is a picture alphabet book. It is a book of alphabets. Why, it's only a timetable, she said. She had learned how to use the dictionary, and this looked like the dictionary. She looked up the names of all the places she knew: Brighton, where she had once spent a month; Rugby, where her brother was at school; and home, which was Amberley. And she saw the times when the trains left for these places and wished she could go by those trains. She had learned how to use the dictionary, and this looked like the dictionary. So this line means Amabel knew how to use the dictionary. She knew how to use the dictionary, and this book looked like a dictionary. Children, do you know what is dictionary? Dictionary is the book from which we find the meanings of different words. And she looked up the names of all the places she knew, like Brighton, where she had once spent a month, and Rugby. Rugby is a place where her brother goes for school, and her home was in Amberley. And she saw the times when the trains left for these places. So many times she has seen trains leaving for these places and wished she could go by those trains. And she also dreamt of going to these places by train. Then Amabel wanted to look for Whitby. Whitby is again a place, and it was then she saw the extraordinary name, Where You Want to Go To. This was odd, but the name of the station from which the train started was still more extraordinary. It was big wardrobe in spare room, and below this name Amabel read in small letters, trains leave big wardrobe in spare room all the time, and under that in still smaller letters, you had better go now. Amabel went straight to the big wardrobe and turned its glass handle. It was most amazingly a crystal cave, very oddly shaped like a railway station. In the previous paragraph, we have seen that Amabel looked up for the names she knew like Brighton, Rugby, and Amberley, and she wanted to look for Whitby. Whitby is again a place, and it was then she saw the extraordinary name. The word extraordinary means uncommon or unusual. She saw the extraordinary name where you want to go to. This was odd. Odd means strange. But the name of the station from which the train started was still more extraordinary. There is something more extraordinary, which was the name of the station. It was Big Wardrobe in Spare Room. And below this name, Amabel read in small letters. So below this name, Amabel read something written in small letters. It was trains leave big wardrobe in spare room all the time. So first she saw where you want to go to, extraordinary name. Secondly, she saw another name which was the name of the railway station. It was big wardrobe in spare room. And thirdly, she read something which is written in small letters below that. It was trains leave big wardrobe in spare room all the time. And under that, in still smaller letters, you had better go now was written. So, under the big wardrobe in spare room, something was written in its smaller letters there. You had better go now. Amabel went straight to the big wardrobe and turned his glass handle. So, after reading this, what Amabel did was she went straight to the big wardrobe in the room and she turned its glass handle. It was most amazingly a crystal cave, very oddly shaped like a railway station. So she found something very amazing inside. It was a crystal cave, a cave made of crystal, very oddly shaped. The shape was very strange and it looked like a railway station. It seemed to be lighted by stars, and over the station clock was a full moon. So the whole railway station was lighted by stars. It looked as if the whole railway station was lighted by stars, and over above the station clock was a full moon. The clock had no figures, only now in shining letters all around 12 times. Okay, the clock did not have any figures as we have 1, 2, 3 numbers written in the clock, isn't it, children? But the word now was written in shining letters all around it 12 times. So, moving on to the next paragraph, a porter in white satin hurried forward to take Amabel's luggage. Her luggage was the ABC which she still held in her hand. Lots of time, miss, he said, grinning in the most friendly way. I'm glad you're going. You will enjoy yourself. What a nice little girl you are. So, in the next paragraph, the porter in white satin hurried forward to take Amabel's luggage. Children, do you know who is a porter? A porter is a person whose job is to carry luggage, and you would have seen them in railway stations and even airport. And a porter in white satin, okay, he was dressed, his dress was made up of white satin. Satin is a smooth, silky and shiny cloth, and he hurried forward to take Amabel's luggage. So the porter hurried forward. He moved fast to take Amabel's luggage. Her luggage was the ABC which she still held in her hand. So what was her only luggage? It was the ABC book which she still held in her hand. Held is the past tense of hold. Lots of time, miss, the porter said, grinning in a most friendly way. Grinning means smiling. So the porter smiled in a very friendly way. I am glad you're going. You will enjoy yourself. And the porter also said that Amabel will enjoy herself, and he also encouraged her. What a nice little girl you are. This was cheering. Amabel smiled. So this was very cheering for Amabel, very encouraging for Amabel. The train was made entirely of crystal too, and the cushions were of white satin. Okay, the entire train was made up of crystal. Crystal is a type of glass, and cushions were made up of white satin. The cushions in the train were made up of satin material. They were little buttons such as you have for electric bells, and on them what you want to eat, what you want to drink, and what you want to read in silver letters. There were little buttons like the buttons you have for the electric bells, and on these buttons something was written like what you want to eat, what you want to drink, and what you want to read. It was all written in silver letters. Amabel pressed all the buttons at once, and instantly she saw on the cushion by her side a silver tray with vanilla ice, boiled chicken, and white sauce, almonds, peppermint cream, and mashed potato, and a tall glass of lemonade. Beside the tray was a book. So when Amabel pressed all the buttons at once, she instantly means very fastly or quickly, she saw on the cushion by her side a silver tray. She saw a silver tray, and the tray contained vanilla ice, boiled chicken, white sauce, almonds, peppermint cream, mashed potato, and a large and a tall glass of lemonade, a lime juice. Beside the tray was a book, and nearby the tray was a book. And just as Amabel finished the last spoonful of ice and reached the last full stop of the book, the train stopped, and hundreds of railway officials in white velvet shouted, "Where you want to go to? Get off here." So, as Amabel finished the last spoonful of ice, which means once Amabel finished eating and finished reading the book, the train stopped, and hundreds of railway officials in white velvet shouted, "Where you want to go to? Get off here." So the train stopped once she finished eating the ice and reading the book, and hundreds of railway officials are persons who has a position of authority. Okay, and they all shouted, they were all dressed in white velvet, and they shouted, "Where you want to go to? Get off here." Next, what happened was the smiling porter opened the door. "Now," he said, "come on out, Miss Amabel, unless you want to go to where you don't want to go to." She hurried out onto the platform and saw ahead of her a crowd. "What's all that?" she asked the friendly porter. "It's the mayor, dear Miss Amabel," he said. So a smiling porter, he opened the door and he said Amabel to come out. And when Amabel came out on the platform, she saw ahead of her, she saw in front of her a crowd. And when she asked the porter about the crowd, the porter said, "It's the mayor, dear Miss Amabel." He told the mayor has come here. The mayor bowed low to her and said, "Welcome, dear Amabel. We know you meant to please your aunt. It's not your fault that you didn't know you should ask permission before you touch other people's thing." "Oh, but," said Amabel, quite confused, "I did." But a band started to play and drowned her words. The instruments of the band were all of silver, and the bandsmen cloths of white leather. The mayor came out from the crowd and he bowed low. Bowed low means bent forward to greet and to show respect. And he welcomed Amabel and he said, "We know you meant to please your aunt. So we know that you wanted to please your aunt, and it's not your fault, okay? It's not your fault, Amabel, that you didn't know you should ask permission before you touch other people's things." So the mayor said, "You didn't know that you should ask permission before touching other people's things?" "Oh, but," said Amabel, she was a bit confused. But suddenly a band started to play and drowned her words. A band started to play and she couldn't speak anymore. The instruments of the band were, the instruments means the musical instruments what the band members were playing. So the instruments were all of silver and the bandsmen cloths of white leather. The bandsmen were wearing cloths of made up of white leather. There was a flower show and a concert. There was also a grand dinner with thousands of guests in Amabel's honor. Soon the shout went up, "Speech, speech." So there was a flower show and a musical concert, and there was also a grand dinner arranged with thousands of guests. And soon the crowd shouted, "Speech, speech." And Amabel began, "Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to make a speech. I just want to say thank you and to say. She stopped and the happy crowd cheered. So when the crowd shouted, "Speech, speech," Amabel started her speech. She told, "Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to make a speech. I just want to say thank you." So she said, "I don't want to give a speech, but I would just want to say thank you." And she stopped, and the happy crowd cheered her. To say, she went on as the cheers died down, "that I should have thought, but I did want to please Auntie. It's all so mixed. Oh, I wish Auntie was here." So Amabel said, "I actually wanted to please Auntie, but I couldn't please, and Auntie became upset because I didn't ask her permission. So I wish Auntie was here." And instantly, Auntie was there, very tall and quite nice looking in a very elegant dress. And suddenly, Auntie appeared there and she looked tall and nice looking in a very elegant, very beautiful, very gorgeous dress. "Speech," cried the crowd. Again, the crowd cried, "Speech, speech" from Auntie. Auntie stood beside Amabel and said, "I think perhaps I was hasty. I think Amabel meant to please me, but those flowers were meant for winter. Well, I was annoyed. I'm sorry." "Oh, Auntie, so am I." "So am I," cried Amabel, and the two began to hug each other on the ivory step while the crowd cheered. So when the auntie stood near Amabel and said, "I think perhaps I was hasty." Children, the word hasty means something done quickly or in a hurry. So the auntie said, "I was hasty and I think Amabel meant to please me." So the auntie accepted that Amabel wanted to please her, but she said those flowers were meant for winter. Okay, I kept the flowers for winter. Well, I was annoyed. So that's why I felt bad. I'm sorry. And now Amabel also cried, "Oh, Auntie, so am I. Even I'm sorry for it." And the two began to hug each other on the ivory step. And the crowd cheered them. And when it grew late and the stars were out, Amabel fell asleep in her aunt's arms beside a fountain on a marble terrace where her white peacocks came to drink. So when it became late, and the stars were out, which means it was night time, Amabel fell asleep in her aunt's arm beside a fountain on a marble terrace. So, beside, which means near a fountain on a marble terrace, Amabel slept in her aunt's arms where white peacocks came to drink. So, in that fountain, white peacocks came to drink water. She awoke on a big bed with her aunt's arms still round her. So when she woke up, She was on a big bed. Okay, she was on a big bed with her aunt's arm around her. Amabel, she was saying, Amabel. Oh, auntie, said Amabel sleepily, I'm so sorry, but I didn't mean to please you. I'm sure you meant to please me. Now come down to supper, said her aunt and smiled. Amabel looked around for the magical book, but it was nowhere. In the last paragraph, we could see that Amabel woke on a big bed with her aunt's arms around her. So Amabel woke from her bed and she could hear her auntie saying, Amabel, Amabel. So Amabel said in a sleepy voice, I'm so sorry, auntie. I did mean to please you. I wanted to please you, so I plucked the flowers, but I forgot to get permission from you before plucking the flowers. And she apologized to her aunt. Apologize means asking sorry for something. I'm sure you meant to please me, auntie said. Now come down to supper, said her aunt and smiled. So aunt called her to come down for her dinner. Supper means dinner. Amabel looked around for the magical book, but it was nowhere. So Amabel was looking around the room for the magical book, but it was nowhere, which means it was not found there. So, with this, the story of Ant and Amabel ends, and we have learnt in the story that it is very important to ask for permission before touching other people's things, because the people might need to use their things, and it won't be good if we borrow or use others things without asking their permission. So children, we must always ask for permission before touching others things, and this is the moral of the story. Now let's move on to the synonyms. So you'll be learning new words, so you can remember the words and their meanings, and you can copy the synonyms in your classwork also.
Students, let's learn the synonyms from the lesson. Extraordinary. Extraordinary. Extraordinary means unusual, uncommon. Extraordinary. Unusual, uncommon. Porter. A person who carries the luggages. So you would have seen them in railway station or bus stand or even in airport. So they carry the luggages or your things. So porter is a person who carries the luggages. Satin. Satin means smooth, silky, shiny cloth. What is satin? Satin means smooth, silky, shiny cloth. Grinning. Grinning means smiling. Grinning, smiling. So I'll repeat you once more. Extraordinary, unusual or uncommon. A person who carries luggages. Satin, smooth, silky, shiny cloth. Satin, smooth, silky, shiny cloth. Grinning. Grinning means smiling. Grinning, smiling.
Children, have you understood the story? Yes? Okay, now let's move on to the book exercise, page number 26 in your book. Exercise A, write true or false for these statements. So children, I hope you can do this exercise by yourself. You can do this exercise as your homework. And exercise B, answer these questions and think an answer. I have given the notes for you. You can copy it in your classwork. And the true or false can also be copied in your classwork notebook. Next, let's move on to page number 27, children. Play with words. In this part, you are going to learn about homophones. Since we have already discussed about homophones, we'll just have a quick recap about homophones. Children, what are homophones? Homophones are words that sound the same but have different spellings and meanings. So, what are homophones? Homophones are words that have the same sound or same pronunciation, but they have got different spellings and meanings. Exercise D. Tick the correct homophones within the brackets. First one, Amabel was too old for the alphabet. So, which is the right one there? Yes, Amabel was T-O-O, too old for the alphabet. Answer is T-O-O. Second one, the birth of the princess was greeted with great joy in the kingdom. So the answer is Birth, birth. Next, the heel of my shoe has broken. Heel, the answer is Heel. Heel, the heel of my shoe has broken. And the fourth one, there is dew on the petals. So, which dew? Dew, dew. Okay, the mist we see, early morning we could see dew on the petals and the leaves. Fifth one, please do not dash the food on your table. Waste, Wast. Last one, if you want to ask a question, please raise your hand. So, which raise will come? Raise. So, exercise E, use this homophone pairs and make sentences in your notebook so the difference in their meaning is clear. So, children, this one you can do it as your homework. No need to write in your classwork notebook. You can just make frame sentence and write in your rough notebook. Students, you can use a dictionary to find out the meanings of the words and frame sentence in your rough notebook. So now let's move on to the next page. Page number 28. Many words in English can function as different parts of speech, which means some words they can function both as noun as well as a adjective or else a verb as well as adjective. For example, Amabel opened the book and started to read. So in this sentence, the word book is a noun. Yes, children, word book is a noun. And in the next sentence, Amabel did not book a ticket for her journey. So in this sentence, the word book functions as a verb. So in the previous sentence, we saw that the word book functioned as a noun. But in this sentence, the same word book functioned as a verb. So the dictionary will give us information about which part of speech a word functions as. So you can find in a dictionary about the parts of speech a word functions as. So we'll move on to exercise F. Look up these words in the dictionary to see if they function as a noun or a verb or an adjective. They fill in the table by putting a tick in the correct columns. So what you have to do is you have to open your dictionary and find out the words whether they function as a noun or a verb or adjective, and you have to put tick in the correct columns. So children, if you have dictionary at home, you can open your dictionary. You can search for the word fair. So it is already done for you. The word fair function as a noun as well as a adjective. So next word is wrong. The word wrong, it functions as a noun as well as a verb as well as adjective. So you can tick on 3 columns: noun, verb and adjective. Third one, the word back, it functions as a noun as well as a verb as well as the adjective. So again, these words function as both noun, verb as well as adjective. Fourth, still. The word still, it functions as a noun, verb and adjective. So you can tick in all 3 columns: noun, verb and adjective. So the rest of the question, children, I want you all to turn your dictionaries to look on your dictionary and do this as your homework. So children, take your dictionaries and search for the words in your dictionary and find out which parts of speech it function as, and you can tick it in the correct column. Students, your assignment for today is learn and copy lesson 3 notes, that is the synonyms and question answer in your classwork notebook. Complete all the true or false in your book and do the assignments in book exercise. Thank you children. Have a nice day.